All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you about Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on sports games in real time with other users. You can get the fastest scores, blazing fast sports news and sports alerts right at your fingertips. And of course, you can use Sleeper to play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. This is the way sports were meant to be enjoyed together. So download Sleeper today. Use promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. And you can pair that with another promo they have right now where you can get a $20 entry free with no deposit required. So get both of those things going. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper today. Get to it and go have some fun with sports this year. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show today. It is time for yet another Seattle Seahawks discussion. Seahawks play a game this week, which separates it from last week. Playing the Commanders in Washington. I am Brendan. That is Brandon. And we're going to talk all about it today. So, how are you doing today, Brandon?
Feeling good, man. It's always a nice bye week, Brendan, when you come out the bye week and you're in first place. I know Rams are technically tied, but just feels good. Feels like we've earned this record. Feels like we're on the right path, both in the short term and the long term. I just got done chopping it up with Rio over there with the Washington Commanders channel, and they're going through it, Brendan. They're going through it a little bit. So it's nice to be on the other end of this as far as things all kind of copacetic and moving in the ways you want them to move.
Yes, they're going through one of their low moments right now. So obviously we don't really have a game to talk about from last week because the Seahawks did not play last week, so we don't have to worry about that. Had a nice little bye week. Actually got to see some pretty good results come down the pipe overall. Niners loss, which that was, I think, kind of a very important game for determining the way the rest of the season was going to go. We saw teams like the Cowboys lose, the Vikings lost. Some pretty good results overall. So not a lot to talk about there. And also, and this is kind of unfortunate, I was hoping that we might have had some movement on a trade deadline move by now, but no. About the most we've had is word from Jordan Schultz that the Seahawks are trying to trade for an offensive lineman. And Jordan Schultz, he's done good work in the past. He's usually been pretty reliable. So I believe that's probably the case, but as of this moment, nothing to report on the trade front for the Seahawks. I do think something will get done in the next 5 days, though.
I would think that there probably will be, as much just because of how much cap space you're sitting on. And John, I would have to think is like, look, I can roll so much of this over and still go make a deal, and I don't have to really hamstring myself. I think the key is going to come down to when it comes to getting an offensive lineman, because there's so few of them, and then their teams don't want to give up the good ones that they've got. And I'm not even talking about dominant. I'm just talking about a good guard. I mean, there could be very well where even a Wyatt Teller costs you a day 2 pick, a 3rd round pick. And that's as much as maybe what John has to make his peace with if he's going to make one of those moves. But I agree. I think something probably does come down, at least even if it's just somewhat minor to middle of the road kind of move.
Right. There's definitely some stuff that can happen out there. Like, you were talking about Wyatt Teller, same team, Tevin Jenkins, who was actually played right guard before. I didn't know that. I actually looked that up the other day, and he has played a lot of right guard. There's, of course, Jackson Powers Johnson. There's a lot of energy behind maybe making that happen. There are some things on the table, but for the moment, there have been trades across the NFL. We've seen some division rivals get busy, right? The Niners made that trade for Keon White. The Rams made the trade for Roger McCreary. And I kind of like McCreary. That was something I would have been interested in if we wanted another corner. So stuff is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Roger, he has done some outside stuff, but he's really a slot guy at this point. And it's as much as we took Darian Kendrick, their backup option there at the slot, and that's why they have to go, make that move. Keon White, I think, is an interesting piece, especially with their I think they're going to try to use a little more inside than the Patriots did there with the Niners. And so I think that he could find a little bit more effectiveness inside. I always thought this is a guy at Georgia Tech used way too often off the edge. I think still the Patriots used him a little bit too much off the edge. Roll him inside, let him do some 3-tech stuff, let him work in there, especially as a pass rusher, even if it's just on rotational basis. I think you can find some effectiveness with him there as a player. So yeah, I think John will probably do, something along this. I was thinking about a creative trade with Jackson Powers Johnson, because I think that we like to think of this in a way of like, well, we don't have to give up what the Raiders gave up. But if you had to kind of flip this back, Brendan, to the Raiders in the way of like feeling like they're not losing draft value. And what I mean by that is to say, we'll give you a second round pick pure back for Jackson Powers right now. Would you do that?
I really liked him coming out, so I might. That's dicey though. It's not a definite thing. I might be willing to do that because I do like him a lot, and he was very good when he was playing center last year for the Raiders. But I will admit, I think that just the fact that he's had a year and a half come off his rookie deal, there has to be some lost value there. I know he's got 2.5 years left on his rookie deal, but there's got to be some lost value there.
There could be. I'm just thinking of it in terms of if it's what it took to put that deal over the top. The Raiders say, we don't want to really move him. You got to kind of blow our socks off to move him. Would you do that if that was what it came down to?
I'd be interested to know if that team even values him that much right now, because they keep jerking him around. They're putting him on the bench. They're putting him back in the game out of position. Like, it doesn't seem like they think much of him. That's one thing that I would say. So if they don't think much of him, I don't know why I'd offer a ton for him, honestly.
It makes sense. Totally makes sense.
He is only 22, though. There are going to be a lot of rookies in this upcoming class that are older than that.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, I think I would, because he has shown an ability, whether he's in and out of the lineup. He's at least been competent there as a guard, and I think he is a center. That's his best position. And I don't know that we're going to be able to find a center in this draft that's necessarily going to be up to snuff. And so I look at that as a little bit of an opportunity too, to deal with something you're going to need to deal with anyway down the line and get some immediate return off of it. So I'm just thinking of that and that nature of it, but we'll see how this goes with this in the next couple of days.
Yeah, it's not a great draft class. Offloading some picks for players that are good might be the play. I think especially over the last month, this draft class has lost a lot of its punch.
Agreed. Or even if it's got some punch, maybe punch at positions that you're not exactly going to look to address.
Right. So I'm open to it. I'm going to be open to whatever. Anything. I mean, this team has shown that they are in play to make a deep run at things this year, which is surprising to me. But now that you're here, I feel like you owe it to the fan base to take a shot at something, even if it ends up being a little bit more expensive than you might like.
Yeah, I would as well. I think it's just that if you're going to be a contender in this modern era, there's some teams that don't have to do this, but I think most teams that are trying to draw this down the line and they see themselves as that way, they will typically make some kind of move. It doesn't have to be a ground earth-shattering move, but I do think that you try to do something to sort of throw something on top of this, get just that little bit extra.
Right. Even if it's not necessarily the offensive line position, there are other positions you could add on to as well that could help this team. I think we really need depth at linebacker. We basically have nothing behind our two starters at linebacker that we feel good about right now. And now this Julian Love news, for anybody who hasn't heard, Julian Love re-aggravated his hamstring injury over the bye week. And now not only is he in jeopardy of missing this upcoming game, he may even go on injured reserve and miss a month. Given that, maybe you even go for a safety. So there are a variety of things that you can do. Yeah.
I think you're open to all possibilities here from John Schneider's standpoint. You're not just narrowing in on the line. You'd like to ideally, I think, at the priority level, get that one handled at the forefront. But I think you're just open to where you can improve your team, however you can improve your team, especially if it's going to be like a day 3 move, draft pick wise, and it's not a big amount of compensation on the other side of it. There's not really a lot to be lost by doing something like that.
So still waiting for movement there, but for the moment, the Seahawks have been quiet, although there is word that they are looking. So that's really all we can say about the trade deadline. And that really only leaves one thing that we need to do today. So let's just go ahead and jump into these Washington Commanders in the middle of a 3-game losing streak. Definitely not the kind of season that they were hoping to have, and not the kind of season they were anticipating after what happened last year with their team making a surprise run to the NFC title game. So big picture, what do you make of that Commanders team right now?
Injuries are a big part of what they're dealing with. Laramie Tunsil might not play in this game. Their McLaurin had a setback with his quad, I think, so he's going to be out of this game. They're already with a couple of other spots where Doris Armstrong, their most effective pass rusher this year, he's gone. He's out the door here for the season there. So they're relying on Jacob Martin right now to generate their edge rush. And they've got some interior guys, defensive line that are interesting on there that can do some things, but injuries are really racking them. Jaden Daniels is going to play this week, but he's really going to have to be a superhero out there for them to get this job done because the supporting cast just isn't there. It's not even what it was last year as it stands right now. And so it's a combination of that. I think defensively, that Washington Commanders team, Brendan, and talking to Rio over there with the Commanders and watching some of the tape, I think those fans are starting to kind of go through some of the stuff that we did here at the end with Carroll on some of the defensive stuff that we saw. And I think some of the numbers that you look at with this Commanders team tell you this. Just some of the simplicity, some of the lack of complexity, some of the, lack of just doing different things, snap in and snap out to bring up confusion at times to the opposition. And I think it's allowing teams offensively to get after them in a major way, not to mention go after certain weaknesses they have in that defense, especially in the secondary.
Yeah. I think to me, the defense is the most surprising thing. I'm not surprised that the offense has regressed, although obviously part of the regression is because of the injuries. Like I kind of anticipated they'd regress a little bit. There's the what do they call it? The sophomore slump for Jaden Daniels. Not shocking. And even when he's been healthy, he hasn't been as good as he was last year. But I thought for sure that you give a second offseason to Dan Quinn and you give him the opportunity to draft some guys, develop some guys. I mean, I know we have concerns about Dan Quinn as a head coach, but I thought for sure that he would get in there and improve that defense. And they've actually regressed a little bit from last year. So really kind of surprising to me.
It's something you and I've talked about with the whole Holmgren quote. I know I often bring it up, but I look at this defense and it does kind of come back into my brain a bit here. The old Holmgren quote from when he got the general manager duties removed. You go young on defense, you go old on offense. Here you got Dan Quinn, a defensive-minded coach, and this team has gone old really by and large on defense and not even full younger offensively. It's gotten younger-ish in places offensively. It's got some age on both sides of the ball, but I think you're feeling some of that age here, defensively speaking. And this is a tried and true rule to me at this point, and Dan's now facing the end of it. I think too that he's not doing a lot, Brendan, to really advance the scheme. I think with the Cowboys, he went more middle of the road blitzing, which he's kept up with the Commanders. And of course, coming from the Carroll lineage, you're going to be more bottom third to 25th-ish in blitz rate from a Carroll defense typically. So he has gone up a bit more there. He runs some more of the stunts and loops and twists than you would typically get in a Carroll defense. But the rest of the stuff you look down the line is all Carroll defense to the core. So second in the NFL at giving up the most yak yardage. You drop to depth. You leave the short stuff open underneath. You let people dink and dunk. Guys are going to get the ball in their hand and they're going to work their way up the field before you have a chance to tackle them. That's where that heavy yak comes from on that. Again, middle of the road in the blitz rate, 22nd in time to pressure, 29th in time to throw. So like what we had with those defenses prior, a lot of time for the quarterback to drop back in that pocket, sit there, survey, figure out where he wants to go with the ball, and then pick his target and find typically an open, wide-ass open target that he can go hit with it. They're 21st in stacked box rate, so you're not getting simulated pressures. You're not getting any kind of creativity to the front side of that. 11th in light box rate. So, they're a little bit they're going to give you some light boxes, and this is really where a big part of the key of this game will come for me, Brent, is we might, for the first time in weeks here, actually see a team that's going to try to rock it with a front four with our condensed splits, unlike every other team that, of course, has brought the house on us time and time again, including those, top 3 stack box rate in the NFL, even after the bye week. So all of the typical stuff that we worried about in the prior defense is being laid to bear right now with this Commanders defense. And I think it just comes down to the same thing we talked about for years, which is that you've got to modernize. You've got to keep building and putting bricks on top of what is already there. You can't say the building is built. You got to keep taking it and driving it forward. And it just does seem like with Dan, he's falling into that old trappings of not quite being as aggressive in pushing this forward, defensively speaking.
Yeah, and another thing to consider, a lot of those things that you just mentioned, that was with Dorrance Armstrong Jr. in the lineup because he was healthy until very recently. So That's been their best pass rusher this year by a pretty good margin. After him, you've got 36-year-old Von Miller, and then you've got Jacob Martin. We know a little bit about Jacob Martin. We remember him a little bit. And yeah, it's kind of wild to me that they were unable to make any kinds of improvements this offseason. Like when you look at what they did, I think they signed Javon Kinlaw last offseason, and he's been whatever. He's been a guy.
Yeah.
I think they signed Frankie Louvu last offseason as well. He's been okay. Trey Amos has been pretty good for them. He's their rookie corner. He's starting. I actually think he's probably been their best corner. Not that that's saying a lot, but it's actually kind of wild how little they improved given the money that they had, because they still got that rookie deal quarterback going with Jane Daniels. They weren't. I know they had to extend McLaurin, but overall, this was not a high expenditure team. They had money to play with, and it doesn't seem like they really did much of anything defensively.
I remember with that defense from the Rivera that sort of this transitions happened. You win with that whole 4 first-round picks on the defensive line thing with Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Chase Young, and then Montez Sweat. 3 of those 4 guys are gone, and you've not really taken the steps outside of Zerzan Newton, which there's a little bit of kind of redundancy between him and LeBron Payne and what they do. And so you haven't really, you didn't reinvest in it. You just kind of have been rolling with some of these vets out there to hopefully try to barely get the job done. And it's, of course, the thing that drove you and I crazy for years, which is that you're not going to be really a heavy blitzing team. You're not going to run the stack boxes. You're going to trust the front 4 to get home. Then you need the dogs up front to get home. And if you don't have the dogs get up front home, you end up with 29th in time to throw in the NFL, meaning you're allowing the third most amount of time for a guy to set up and throw the ball in the pocket, that it's taking you the 22nd amount of versus all the rest of the teams at being able to be in quickness of your generation of pressure. This is what happens when you don't invest in that way. And I don't get it, because we saw it in our prior defenses here, and we're seeing it now with Dan, because this is how you want to run. You want these front 4 guys to get it done. How do you short sell that? How do you go through a whole offseason not kind of realizing that this is going to be a necessity? I'll at least give Ron Rivera some credit here. They did some weird stuff there, Brendan, in drafting and who they grabbed, but at least he knew, like Quinn, he wants to be a front 4 guy. He doesn't want to blitz either. In fact, he probably wants to blitz less than Quinn. And at least they tried to build up a super 4-man front. That at least makes sense to me, even if it doesn't work. This conceptually makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Even if they had Armstrong, this would not be that fearsome of a front 4.
No,
it would just be okay.
Yeah.
You still got Kinlaw starting for you for the moment, and Newton, by the way, is injured right now. Don't know if he's going to play this week or not. But you got Preston Smith starting on this defense, and he's feels like it's been 3-4 years since he was really a good player.
Yeah,
it is kind of odd, because again, this is when the iron should be hot. This is the second year of your new phenom quarterback. This is a second year of your new head coach, who was supposed to be a defensive genius, who did all that great stuff in Dallas. It's kind of weird that they've taken this approach. You would think this would be something that teams would be good at, understanding how to build when you have the cheap quarterback, but not really.
No, not really. And it's stuff that's mismatched parts. Take Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore is a press man cover corner. Dan Quinn wants to play zone 85 to 90% of the time. Why would you bring that guy in then? You're going to make Lattimore play zone now? You're going to have him off of what he does comfortably. Now they finally have started to transition to having him and play press man, but now Dan's leaving what is really his defense, right? He's leaving the philosophy by which he's supposed to operate in order to accommodate this player who you probably shouldn't have gotten in the first place, who's already old as dirt and doesn't fit your defense. A lot of how they built this conceptually doesn't make a lot of sense to me, Brendan, to your point.
Yeah, and Lattimore has not been very good so far this year. Neither has Sane Ristel, who's actually one of their young, good players. He was really good last year. I think his PFF grade this year is sub 50 right now, so something's going on there. Maybe it's a sophomore slump, but he was a guy that I liked in that draft, so I imagine he'll come out of it eventually, but right now, nothing good.
I think he'll be solid eventually, to your point, down the line. They've done a little bit of trying to work him outside here and there a bit, Brendan, which I don't get why they're doing that, because we watched him in college and we could see he's a pure slot. He's 5'9". Don't put him to the outside. But look, they've got some issues on the outside they've had to try to overcome a bit. So he's been, I think, kind of flexed a little bit in and out there. But you're right, he is having a little bit of a depressed second season.
Right. So the only two players that are graded well on PFF on this defense, by the way, are Deron Payne, like you mentioned earlier, and he is very good, and Bobby Wagner is still graded well. So he's kind of ageless out there, and even that, like there are plays where you see like he doesn't have the speed anymore. He doesn't have the ability to do the things downfield that he used to be able to do, and there are some weaknesses with him that you can exploit, even if he is still good at some other stuff. So. There's just not really a lot to say about this defense. They're not good, and they don't really do anything that well. They don't force turnovers. I think they have like 5 turnovers forced through 8 games or something like that. It's not good.
It's not good. And I think with Bobby, especially with the offense we're bringing out to bear in this particular game, under center play action. So does Bobby have this quickness and speed and athleticism at this point to do that 2-step forward run thing you got to do off the play action and then flip your hips and then speed run your butt back up the seam and try to stay with the tight end once you realize it is play action and I got to get back into coverage? I think this is going to be a long game for him with Arroyo and Barner out there. And I think that Kubiak would be crazy not to be sort of targeting him. And even in Frankie Luvu's case, as you said, he more of a blitzing kind of linebacker like Bobby. That's kind of Bobby run defender and a blitzer. Luvu's kind of more of a penetrating kind of will linebacker type guy. So even him now, you put him in coverage. These are two guys you can attack out there and isolate. And I would be surprised if we don't come out of this game with possibly seeing our tight end production as high as it's been at any game this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then there are other starting linebackers, Von Miller, who I mean, I didn't even know they had him playing standing up. I thought he was going to be down on the line for them.
He's got 3 forks sticking out of his back.
Yeah, somehow he's still producing a little bit this year, though, so good for him. But I can't believe he's starting in 2025. That doesn't seem right.
You don't feel it's kind of like those vets, man. They can pick their spots, and still give you a stat to give you the look like predicted. But watching him snap and snap out, he's far from the Von Miller of old.
Yeah, just mistakes made this offseason really adding up here. Surprising mistakes too. Doesn't seem like it needed to happen this way.
No, there seems to be that firm commitment where they want to take the assets and try to stick it more to the offense. The McLaurin extension that you did, and then the Laramie Tunsil trade with the 2nd, 4th rounder they made for him, the Josh Connerly pick to get him over on the right tackle side and get him set up. They really wanted to try to really get this protection thing in place for Jaden, but it seemed to come a bit at the expense of the defense.
Okay, so before we start talking about the Washington offense, which is of the 2 units, the better unit, even though it hasn't been very good yet this year, got a few donos I want to go through here. We got Feed Me More Seahawks. Thank you for the $5. I woke up spilling hot chocolate on myself, falling off my porch, fixed my computer, and now I'm brain rotted from Brendan saying 6'7". Now I'm taking a nap. So that's a pretty full day.
He's going through it. Mm-hmm. We're barely out of the morning, Feed Me. We haven't gotten to afternoon yet, man. Hold on.
Yeah. We I don't know. Maybe you want to call it early today. Maybe today's just a day where it's like you got to go back to bed because nothing bad can happen in there. I don't know.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah, you need a reset, bud. Hit that reset button.
Yeah, and speaking of 6'7", by the way, I am now on TikTok. I've got a link at my link tree for it. I'm Seahawks Brendan Nelson on TikTok. Posted 5 videos over there now. I'll be posting more over there. I don't know exactly how often, but I will be posting some more over there. So give me a follow over there if you're on TikTok.
Same. I've been popping on mine too. So
really?
Yeah, we got Hawks Nest on Hawks Nest TikTok is my handle on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Still not going to let China get a hold of my information though. So
they sold it, man. They don't got it no more.
Yeah, exactly. They're never going to get it. It's mine.
Yeah, that's right.
They can never have it.
You never sold out, man. You never sold out to China.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Hey, quick question for you, by the way. Give me where is Bobby Wagner rank all time inside linebacker Mike NFL history?
Behind Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, though, it's tough, right? Because Dick Butkus never played on a good team. All the teams he played on were terrible, so it's really hard to judge him, right? Really hard to judge that. I'd put him above Urlacher at this point, I think.
I would too. Yeah.
I'd put him above like London Fletcher and who was the guy in Miami all those years?
Oh,
Donnie Edwards. Yeah,
Zach something.
Zach Thomas, Donnie Edwards. Junior Seau's tough. Junior Seau's interesting. Let me think here. What else? Like after Ray Lewis, maybe Singletary. Singletary was really good.
He's
Singletary.
got to be. He's past Singletary because the thing Singletary doesn't have, and the thing that like Buckus doesn't have that you do have to I think hit him for is Buckus only played like 8.5 years
Yeah,
collectively. So
right.
like the longevity, and this is always the hard part about this stuff is how much does longevity. But the fact that Bobby has been able to stay at a like all pro level with this longevity at the same time, to me, that's where, in my opinion, I think that's where he does now overtake Junior Seau, and that he's at least gotten to that stage of this to where he's not going to overtake Ray Lewis, but I think he's overtaken the rest of the bunch, in my opinion.
There's like, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham. I don't know. Those guys played so long ago. It's really hard to try to make the comparison. Like after Ray Lewis, I think that Bobby's at the very least in the conversation. He just kept playing and playing and playing and playing. He's like Kevin Garnett, right? Like Kevin Garnett just kept playing and playing and playing. And eventually you're like, this guy played for 20 seasons.
Yeah.
And these other guys were comparing him to guys like, Larry Bird. Like Larry Bird might have been better in his prime, but Larry Bird played 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Garnett played 20. At a certain point, longevity does kick in a little bit.
It has to at least to be a bit of a factor there. And I mean, Junior, I guess somebody argue with me that Junior's got him overtaken, but I don't think he's any further down the list than 3, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anybody I'm forgetting here. I don't know. Like we already did Singletary.
You covered them. I did a research on this a couple of years ago. You grabbed the ones that are there's not really any other ones like the Lambert, the Ham ones. Those were kind of guys that, depending on how you wanted to measure or gauge them, that they could have gotten in there. But outside of that, there's not really anybody else. It's he's kind of separated himself in there.
Ray Nitschke on the Packers. That's so long ago. It's really feels like a different sport.
It does. And it's tough to make that comparison to that too, when it's just so run heavy and you're not really asked to do as much in the coverage stuff like some of these other linebackers in the modern era.
Mm-hmm. And this might not be it for Bobby. He could play another year if he really wanted to. I don't know if he'll want to, but he could come back for 2026. He hasn't had that year yet where he's definitively just washed up and can't do anything.
Agreed. I mean, even Ray Lewis at the end had the injury that popped up with the tricep tear, and I don't know if he was as effective as a run defending linebacker as he had once been. I think Bobby's got some ineffectiveness as far as pass coverage. That's to be sure, but I think he's every bit still as good a blitzer and very close to being every bit as good still of a run defender with his instincts. Maybe not as quick as he once was, but he's very accomplished at getting off blocks and slipping out of those and being hard to kind of pin down in that way. And that's where that, to me, that has continued to, hold the line a little bit in his game. And just to me, it makes impressive, and he should rise up a bit with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all about like we said, the longevity at a certain point it kicks in. Like Luke Kuechly might have been better than Bobby Wagner in his prime, but Kuechly, how long did he play? Like 7 years?
Yeah. And that's to me where that does on the other end, got to factor that in. That's only 7 years. And he was injured in a lot of those years. So,
yeah,
it's a factor. It is.
It's kind of wild, by the way. I think Kuechly is younger than Wagner, and yet he's been retired for what feels like a decade.
I know. Yeah. He went early on that. Then those concussions are no joke.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, thank you. Feed me more. Ski Nation, thank you for the $20.
Thank you, Ski.
What's up, fellas? Put Julian Love in a hibernation pod for a month. We need him down the line. Also, gotta love Seattle being the only division leader outside of most top 10 lists. Keep us there so we can win another Super Bowl. Yeah, we're having no luck with that this year. The Huskies aren't ranked somehow. They're 6-2, and the Huskies aren't ranked. And Seattle can't get in the top 10 of the power rankings. So it's just one of those years.
Tough luck, but I like it from our standpoint because it has us in that underdog role. I like the underdog role. I prefer it a little bit. Yeah. But the Julian Love's a tough one because I think you want him back for the Rams game. And so there's a little bit of maybe trying to have that set there for that. It's unfortunate that he's gone back. Certainly Akata's plays made him feel a little bit better about this because he's been doing much better recent last couple of games, but tough loss. Julian's very important back there.
Yeah, Okada's been a lot better than I would have expected. So at least we got that going for us.
Yeah. But that's like, with the ski, they don't, those power lists, those power rankings, Vegas with the 7.5 wins that they had us put at for, before the start of the season. It is kind of this, the nature of this beast that we sort of get looked at in this way. And I like it. I think, again, it has us hungry. It has us, nobody thinking about us. We're kind of the forgotten team out here in the NFC at times, I think. And I think we operate best in that role out here in Seattle.
Yeah. And unlike the AP rankings, power rankings don't really matter. They're just something that people do for fun to pass the time. The AP rankings actually matter. So hopefully Washington can get ranked sometime in the next month or so.
Yeah.
I imagine they will. Just some teams are going to fall out, and you're going to have to. I think Washington's getting to 9-2 at least. So at that
that'll
point,
get them. That'll get them in the right. Yeah, that'll get them in the top 20. It's got to.
Yeah, and they're one upset win over Oregon away from maybe even being a playoff team, which would be well beyond my expectations. So hey, fun stuff happening.
It's good to see. Good to see them finding back their footing there after DeBoer left.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Jeffrey Thistle, thank you for the $10. In my life, we have not been true postseason contenders unless we beat our divisional teams, even when we get to postseason and wild card after losing in our division. Our Super Bowl years, we beat down our division. Actually, the year we won the Super Bowl, we went 4-2 in the division. We lost one game to the Niners and we lost one game to the Cardinals. So even that year, man, the division was trouble.
Yeah, the division definitely can be trouble. I think to Jeffrey's point, there's a bit of a proving ground when it comes to specifically for me, the Rams and Niners. You're playing these teams 3 times in the back half of this schedule. And I think we're going to learn a lot, especially in the Rams game, about what this team truly is for the potential of this year and their ability to stand toe to toe with the Rams team and their ability to potentially beat the Rams team that's kind of had their number in recent years. So it is a bit of a metric for me too, Jeffrey, that I'm paying attention to. And as well, if you look at the common denominator between the 3 Super Bowl years, it's really the bottom line of this. When you had the number 1 bye, you got yourself into the Super Bowl. All 3 times you did there. So that's to me the thing you're trying to target is get back again to having that bye, having home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I know our home field has been reduced down a little bit in recent years, but I think that still, all that being said, it's a very, very, very helpful thing to have that and can help to get you over the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've talked about this before, how being able to beat up on a soft division is something that helps your team. A lot of people like to say that, that just means you're not prepared for the playoffs. Yeah. That's probably not true. And one thing about Seattle during this, I'll call it the John Schneider era, is that the division has consistently been a pain. There have not been very many years where Seattle was just able to farm 6 wins against the division without even worrying about it. Like every year you got to deal with the Harbaugh Niners or the Shanahan Niners or the McVay Rams for a while now. The Cardinals had a nice little run with what's the name of the tomato guy?
Bruce Arians.
Yeah, Bruce Arians. Like it's been very annoying that we can't get a couple of years where these teams just fall apart.
It is frustrating. That's that feast factor I talk about, that if you want to be a Super Bowl team, to your point, you need the feast factor, being able to beat up on your division, to be able to kind of keep yourself clean and free and not, completely just having to expend every last bit of energy to win every game within your division. But it is the norm here. It remains the norm once again this season. This thing is held pretty consistently for almost a 10-year period at the very least. And it'd be nice if it was easier, but unfortunately, it's just, it is what it is when we're out west.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's see here. Jeffrey, thank you for the $5 again. Thank you, Jeffrey, again. This game is going to be a 1-score game coming down to the last drive, even though we outplayed them for 4 quarters because Seattle sports.
I could see it going that way, man. I mean, I'm confident in this game. I'm going to predict it being more than a 7-point win. But I could certainly see Washington giving you a problem. The this has been a weird year at Jeffrey. That's the part of this too, is just beyond us with, we can beat you in all 4 quarters, still can come down the end of the line. It's also just been a weird year NFL wise. We're right where you think you have an understanding about what's going on or where teams are sort of headed. All of a sudden you get a Sunday where things are kind of flipped up on their ear more than almost ever before. It just feels more wide open than ever before, and that there's more randomness and chaos than ever before, which means we still got to go get this win. It ain't going to be just go walk in there, show up, and we got the dub. They're going to give us their best fight. And let's not forget with Washington, this is their season on the line. I mean, they lose this game, they're probably done. They might even be in seller mode at the trade deadline. Not that they got a lot to sell, but that's where they probably go if they lose this game, and they're probably rightly aware of that.
Yeah, this should be Washington at their most desperate, and that's something we're going to talk about before this show's over. I think they've lost 3 in a row. They haven't looked good. They're finally getting their quarterback back. Like this Washington team, we should be getting everything they have on Sunday night. And if we don't, I think that's a pretty bad indication about where that team is in terms of like their locker room. I think that's a pretty bad indication that maybe the guys just aren't fully invested because this is the do or die moment for them.
Truly is. I think the tough part is that, you have on that offense, I would say 2 of their top 3 most important offensive players are not playing in this game. And you're just having their third guy coming off of injury. So it's they're not at full strength in doing this. The loss of McLaurin and the potential loss of Laramie Tunsil are huge factors here.
Mm-hmm. And of course, no Armstrong. We already know about that. Like that's massive for them. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's see. Tall. Thank you for the $1.99. Go Hawks. Number 1.
Hawks.
Keep it that way.
Thank you, Tall.
Yeah, I like
Appreciate
it.
you. Yeah.
If the season ended right this second, we would win the division. That means something.
It does, man. We're putting in the good work, and this record feels earned. It doesn't feel like it's a mirage, a little bit like last year in those first 3 games. So this team seems like it's on the rise, and it's moving to potentially playing its best football of the season down the stretch, which is the ideal.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Shiloh Davis, thank you for the $1.99. Keep Woolen, trade for O-line or linebacker. Yeah, I mean, when you look around the league right now, like for instance, the Roger McCreary trade or the Keon White trade, you're seeing like it's player plus a 7th for a 6th. That's probably about what you would get for Woolen. And I just don't know why we need to do that. Like it's one thing for the Titans to do it. They're terrible. They just want anything. Like that 6th round pick means something to them. 6th round pick doesn't mean a lot to me. This team is 5-2. This team should be trying to acquire more talent.
Agreed. I think that you don't want to be in the business of trading players when their trade value is at near its least amount. That's not the ideal way of building team wise. And I'd much rather just look at him as a bit of a, stock option here the rest of the year, that there's still a high payout if this guy can kind of lock it in. He showed that the last game. And if you can get that performance even through the back half of the schedule, that's more than well worth it than a versa even 5th round pick at that point, in my opinion. So you just sit with Woolen, you roll this out. I agree, Shiloh. I think O-line, linebacker are certainly very well potentially in play as far as the look goes. With line, it's just a matter of, is there a guy really available they can go get? Linebackers, you can always find something there with the off-ball linebackers.
Right. There's some stuff out there, even in free agency that should be adequate. We just got to go out there and do it. Got to find something a little bit better than Tyrese Knight right now. And I still like Knight long term, but maybe this is just going to be a lost season for him.
We don't know what's going on with the injury, man. So it's all just, there could be something mysterious in there that's really held him back here. And if that's the case, yeah, to your point, long-term doesn't mean it's bad, but just this year he's kind of going through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to be clear, I still think that it is a mistake to put yourself in a position where you need to trade for an offensive lineman in the middle of the season, but that's the hand we've been dealt. We got to play it. Like, this is why I wanted to sign Tevin Jenkins in the offseason. Then he has the whole offseason and preseason to integrate himself into your offense. He probably would have been a day 1 starter at right guard, and you wouldn't be in this spot right now where you have to try to find a trade. Like to me, that was kind of a big mistake to allow him. You can't tell me if he's signing for 1 year, $3 million with the Browns, he would have taken that same deal in Seattle. You'd rather be in Seattle than Cleveland, especially when he's not even playing in Cleveland. So,
yeah, 100 great points. We hammered this, right, Brendan? You and I hammered this throughout the offseason. The Zabel move will not be enough. You're going to need to do more to this offensive line, and you didn't. And now we can see that you're kind of paying the price, albeit the rest of this team's really good, but you can see the part of this team that's paying the price for that decision. And so now you're in a position where you can go make that move. And that's part of why I said to you, like, going over the top and having to go more than you would comfortably want to go get one of these linemen. Don't want to have to do this. Don't want to have to have been put in this position. But I also don't want to see the guard or center position be part of what sinks our hopes this year, as we've seen so many of our season hopes in recent years sunk by bad offensive line play. And it's better this year. It is improved. It's Lucas Cross holding it down. Zabel looks like the legit real deal, but You've got the opportunity now to do this. And let's face it, Brendan, whether you do this now or not, as I've been consistent on a lot of these moves, this isn't just a move about now. It's also a move to start to reinforce this thing for the now and maybe the future. I know maybe a Tevin Jenkins wouldn't be that, but could be, you could do that with a Teller, or could be that with Jackson Powers Johnson or a Cesar Ruiz. These guys could be those pieces that, yes, it's an immediate return, but it's also giving you the long-term returns, which you're going to need as well. Because Bradford doesn't look like the answer. Sundell doesn't look like the long-term answer. We're going to have to deal with these things sooner or later.
All right. Well, there's like this little, I don't know quite the right term, but there's kind of like this little red flag with the Seahawks offense that I think we need to be aware about right now. So a couple things. In terms of EPA, which is one of my favorite stats in all of football, the Seahawks offense is by a pretty good margin the best in the league on neutral downs or run favorable downs. But they experience the biggest drop off in football when they go from those downs to pass expected downs. Like they become a below average offense when they find themselves in like those, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9, or 2nd and 17. When they get into pass heavy situations because of down and distance or score, they are a below average offense, and the fall off is cataclysmic. Like that is very clearly something that is going to cost this team at some point this season in some game. So you need to either make the offense better in pass favorable situations, or you need to limit the pass favorable situations as much as possible. And I think the way you do that is you improve the offensive line so you can actually run the ball effectively. You have to.
Yeah, I think that there's some solid points within that. I think there's a bit of this to this leads to this to this that leads to this, and it gets down to some of these stats you're talking about on the bottom line. So just walk with me on this one a little bit. If you're a team that's facing the most stacked boxes in the NFL and a top 3 blitz rate in the NFL, is there any offense that's going to run the ball well in that situation? I mean, even if they are an uber talented offensive line, do you really think that there's a team, I'm talking the most extreme, Brendan, the team that's facing the most stacked boxes in the NFL? Do you think that team, any which way, is going to be able to run the ball consistently when it's that extreme, those numbers?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, which is why I do say there is multiple ways of fixing this. Maybe the way of fixing it is to get a number 2 receiver better than Cooper Kupp, which is why I did, even though I don't think it's going to happen, briefly discuss the Brian Thomas Jr. thing, like finding some way to knock the defense out of that.
So I think that's again, 2 words for me, my standpoint on it. I think Cooper Kupp's doing just fine. You've got Jackson Smith taking up 45% of the target share of a passing offense that coming into last week's game was 20th in passing attempts. There's just not enough passing attempts out there to go get Cooper Kupp the ball, much less any of the other target catchers when you're throwing so much at JSN and then you're not throwing very much overall in general. What's happened here, Brendan, is this: stack boxes, blitzes, highest rate in the NFL. Then you have a Mike McDonald coach that wants you to be consistent and still trying to run the ball. Yeah, I know, Clint, you're getting the stack boxes, but I still want you to run the ball. This is evidenced by the fact that you are so low in your volume of passing attempts, despite the stack boxes, despite the blitzes, because most offensive coordinators, especially in air raid offense, would go right into pass city. Grubb would have gone right into pass city. But with what we've seen with Kubiak, he's doing instead is, no, I will still keep trying to hammer at this and get this better. The fallout of that is if you're going to run into stack boxes, what's going to happen? You're not going to get very many yards. There's too many bodies down there. It's not a matter of like, we're not good enough blocker wise. There's too many bodies down in by the box to be able to run the ball, but you want to stay committed to it. So then what happens on the other end of this? You end up in 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 9 and 3rd and 11s, right? Because you're not running the ball consistently enough on 1st and 2nd down when you're running it. So when you talk about those knowing situations on passing downs, that's where we're going astray. That's oftentimes happening on the back of you being in these 3rd down and long distances where it's predictable for the defenses to know. But we backtrack this. What's the fix on that? Really, the ideal fix on that, Brendan, is to go to more of a high volume passing approach, which is not what I'm advocating for. But that's the fix to this. This is why Sam Darnold is playing at the most efficient level of any quarterback in the sport right now. This is why you're taking top off the defense. This is why he's averaging 10 yards attempt in some of these games, because of the fact that this is the way you attack. You don't go uphill against it. You look for the downhill. And the downhill is if you're going to get the highest stack box rate in the NFL, if you're going to get a top 3 blitz rate in the NFL, then there should be a lot of green grass in the back end for you to slay. You should get one-on-one opportunities all across the board. But it's hard for me, and you're not alone on this Cooper Kupp thing, by the way. It's really hard for me, though, to hear from some of the fans on this one because I don't know what he is supposed to have done up until this point to do better and to do more, considering how little you've passed and how much they have hyper-targeted Jackson Smith-Njigba because of the fact he's not getting double teams. He's getting one-on-ones, and why is he getting the one-on-ones, Brendan? Because you're getting the stack boxes and the heavy blitz rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely get all of that. I'm just trying to figure out how do you stop the opposing team from sitting in those stacked boxes all the time? Because I think that does become a problem at some point when you have a team where the opposing defense feels comfortable doing that. And I am sitting here kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do we get them to stop doing that? Because I do think that's going to be a problem because as much as we run the ball, the running game is not really effective. We're like 30th in yards per carry. And I'm just trying to figure out like what makes teams think they can get away with doing that. And how do I stop them from thinking they can get away with doing that?
The reason the teams are doing this is because everybody has established a one-size-fits-all concept to the Seahawks offense. The Seahawks offense is coming out in more condensed splits or as many condensed splits as anybody in the NFL. NFL teams now are countering that by saying, okay, we're going to stack your box and we're going to blitz you off the back of that. Because now our blitzes, like we saw last week on the double corner blitz with Woolen and Job, when you get a team in condensed splits and then you blitz outside corners, for instance, it's a quicker pathway to get to a quarterback versus when they're on the outside and they got to go that extra distance from the outside to get in. So like, this isn't really an adjustment the Hawks need to make. They're a top 6 scoring offense in the National Football League right now without that running game. So it's not really about, you've got to find a way to make the running game work. It's that this running game will always fail, and it would fail for any NFL team out there that's facing this much congestion down around the line of scrimmage. The way you counter that is with an efficient passing attack that's going to attack with chunk plays down the football field. And back to my point on that, Sam Darnold, as good as anybody at making those big time throws down the football field, averaging 9-10 yards an attempt, which is a very high amount to be averaging for a quarterback in a game. They're doing the right thing to counter this. But I just don't feel like there's really the issues there in the running game that it's kind of being blown up to be, because I just keep asking the question and nobody has yet answered this. If you're facing those two components, highest stack box rate, almost the highest blitz rate in all of the NFL, and blitz isn't just about blitzing against the passer. You can do run blitzes as well, right? Run blitzes, which are all set up to stop the run. Well, what team is going to be successful in that? Remove us. Man, Eagles wouldn't be successful in that. When the Eagles get that kind of look, you know what they do? They go one-on-one with A.J. Brown up the sideline on the 9 route with Hurts. That's their counter to it, not to just keep hammering the run. And that's football. It's like they do this, we go there. They come up here, we do that. It's just that we're facing this extreme amount of teams. Everybody that one size fits all every single week is doing the very same thing over and over again. And I think it's going to be an adjustment eventually, Brendan, because the adjustment will come in on Jackson Smith-Njigba's about to go set a record for most receiving yards in the NFL off the back of these one-on-ones. Eventually, teams are going to start to roll some of the coverage over. Eventually, they'll do that. You got to stop blitzing less. To do that, you got to take some of those stacked boxes away. And now that's when the run game, watch how wondrous it'll be. Suddenly the run game starts to get going when suddenly that box lightens up just a little bit.
So you're not here's my thing. Like, we're 6th in points scored, I think, offensively, right? Or points scored per game, but we're 14th in EPA per play. Like, when I look at that, my instinct is we're due for regression. Like that tells me that it might not be sustainable. You're not concerned about that is kind of what you're saying. You think that's
I think that number is driven heavily by your super hyper commitment to running the football up against a brick wall. And that if you took those things out of it, if you were a team that did what a lot of, I think, teams would have done here that weren't as committed to running the ball and just started going pass happy, Sam Darnold's leading the league in passing yardage. You're going to see Cooper Kupp with even more productivity, the tight ends with more productivity. But with Mike coming off the heels of Grubb last year, and this is the part can't overstate, comes off the heels of Grubb, who completely abandons the run over and over again. He hammered it into Kubiak's head this offseason. I don't care. I don't want to hear about stack boxes. I don't want to hear about blitzes. I don't want to hear it, Clint. I want you to run the effing ball. Now, what happens with that is now you're going to get a lot of bad plays. You're going to get negative plays, and then that's going to pull down the EPA with it. It is. But to me, that's where I'm seeing when I see those EPA numbers, that's where that's coming from to me. It's this thing pulling down that, and it's nothing else. I don't look at this passing offense and go, well, there's much more efficiency to be had there. As I said, you're 20th in passing attempts, but you got Darnold playing at this hyper efficient level and getting big yards down, big chunk plays down the football field. It's an odd brand for us to watch because I think, Brendan, for so many years, we didn't have this as much. We saw the cover 2 shells to take away the DK Metcalfs and to take away the moon balls from Russell Wilson. But this is the flipping it into the opposite direction to me.
So you don't think that that's indicative of like a regression is due? Okay, I could see that. It is very interesting though, because this has been kind of my Bible for a while now. Things like EPA predicting fall off or improvement over the current results. So that's kind of interesting.
Numbers are always important, and I think it's a worthwhile number, but then the context is also important into it as well. And when you go box score by box score throughout this year and look at the number of rushing attempts versus the number of passing attempts, you got a running game that'll average 3 yards a carry. You have a passing attack that's averaging 10 yards a carry, yet you have almost a 50-50 split in just about every game. Well, that to me speaks to the fact that there's this commitment at play, not because you're doing it so effectively. And it's going to lead to some issues on that, like being a lot of third down and longs because you're not getting the job done in early downs. It's going to lead to having the bad EPA numbers. But as long as the offense is actually scoring numbers and as long as they're actually slaying it up over the top, I mean, we got a top 6 scoring offense. We would have taken that every day and twice on Sundays this offseason if we knew what this team was, regardless of whatever they're doing and running the ball.
I mean, I hope you're right. I hope you're right, because it's unlikely that anything major happens to shift this right now. Like, we have 5 days until the trade deadline. And while I would certainly be for it, it's very unlikely you trade for like Brian Thomas Jr. That's very, very hard to imagine. So I hope you're right.
Yeah, I think Cooper Kupp is going to be just fine. I think he's going to get probably a couple games this year at some point of over 100 yards once you start to see Jackson Smith get some true double teams. And it's only the Cardinals in the first half that have slid any kind of bracket coverage his way. That has been it. And they bailed on it in the second half. That's why Jackson went off in that second half, as they started to go away from it for whatever reason. So yeah, I wouldn't always apply this with the EPA stuff, but just seeing what Seattle's doing every week in this way and understanding Mike's commitment and that he's hardlining this, I do think that this is going to be just fine. I mean, on top of the fact that as bad as we may be or as ineffective as we are at running the ball right now, we are pass protecting really well. We're giving them time. And we're picking up blitzes and we're doing, stuff. It's like, I was talking the other night on a show with someone who's speaking about the fact we're not using our running backs and tight ends aren't always getting used. Well, what you're doing a lot of in this as well is you're picking up the blitz. Sam's seeing it's coming and then he's going max protect. So your running backs in protecting, your tight ends in there helping in protection because you got all these extra blitzers coming. And so then it all gets driven back to your receivers. And then the number of guys you got running actual routes at that point is diminished and reduced down. But then that's not about an ineffectiveness of tight ends or running backs to catch balls out of the backfield. It's all then driven back by this real extreme nature of how these defenses are playing our particular offense.
Okay. I mean, I can dig it. You definitely could be onto something here. I don't know. Some of these numbers give me concern. Like, we're actually below average in success rate also this year. It's these things that I'm like, okay, is this going to come back and bite us later? I think about these things, but you might be right. You might be onto something. Absolutely.
I wouldn't be as confident if our passing attack wasn't just so capable as it's been and so efficient as it's been. I think this is represented by Sam being the highest rated quarterback by PFF here halfway into the year. It's efficient and it's really effective. And if I hadn't seen that on this, I'd be with you on there's a little regression to the mean situation going on here, but you're so damn good in what you're doing throwing the rock right now that I think it can kind of overcome it a bit.
Mm-hmm. All right. I can dig it. I hope it's true because, again, it's unlikely you do anything at the trade deadline that massively changes this. Your team is your team for the most part.
It's true. It's true on that part. I think there's something to be maybe said too, as far as, how tough of defenses are you facing down the line? Yeah, the Rams, but where are the Niners going to be? You have the Cardinals in there. You have the Falcons in there. You got the Carolina Panthers in there. Colts are a good defense, so that'll be a challenge there. But I don't know if there's going to be a lot of murderers row type defenses we're going to be running through down the stretch either.
Yeah, I think the main concern would be when you get to the postseason, who are you playing then? Like, that's a little bit tougher. Like, what if, although the Eagles' defense hasn't been great this year, I guess, now that I think about it, but you're going to run into a good defense eventually.
You will. I mean, it's something that you will, but I think on those kind of games and when you get to especially the playoffs, so like what I'm saying with the running right now, where Mike in a regular season game is going, I don't care, run, commit. I think once you get through the end of the year, you're in the playoffs. There is no tomorrow. You're facing stack boxes. You're facing the blitz rate the same way you did during the regular season. I think that's a game where Mike then goes to Clinton, goes, you know what? Let it loose. If they're going to do this in the playoffs, if this is where the easy path is, if this is where the free money's at for you to go get on the field, let it go. This is one where on this particular one, I think do you think I'm on my rocker on that, where there might be a bit of a difference in the way that you approach a regular season game versus that do or die kind of playoff with that approach?
Well, obviously this wasn't a do or die game, but we did see that against Tampa because they have Vita Vea, right? Like we did see that adjustment where they threw the ball more against Tampa because it's really, really hard to run against them. So yeah, I think so. I like it.
Yeah. I think they can get some answers down the line here. Now, it doesn't mean to say though, Brendan, to the original point, if we could go find offensive linemen, you're hearing from me. I'm willing to go jump in there and go pretty strongly at it. This is something that's got to be addressed. So I'm, with all this being said, all my confidence about this offense, the future. Let's get a lineman.
Okay. Ski Nation, thank you for becoming a member. This is over on my side. Welcome, Ski Nation.
Appreciate you, Key.
Jeffrey, thank you for the $2. Oots. Yes, it looks like Oots has a chance to play this week. So
hold on, Brendan. Here we go. Oots. He's calling for the drop. Gotta give him the drop.
All right. I think he could help the running game a little bit. I think that him being out might be part of the reason why the running game has been ineffective, but it's part of a much bigger picture here, obviously. But he is nice to have. Brady Russell clearly was unable to do the things that we needed from that position.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's definitely going to help. And if you get less of the stack boxes, the impact of Oots will be even more felt, I think, in there. Some of the I formation stuff you can work off of with the looks can kind of take advantage of if the defense is going to be unbalanced to one side or the other. And then you've got him lead blocking and a little bit of more of some clear space that way too. But yeah, there was definitely a drop off from Russell to him in doing the pure fullback kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Herman the Great, thank you for the $1.99. Love the Seahawks coverage, Brendan. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, Herman.
And he also sent this on your end. Herman, thank you for the $1.99
Thank
on
you, man.
Brandon's side. Want to show you love for you as well, Brandon. Go Hawks.
Appreciate you, Herman. Very kind of you.
Mm-hmm. Jeffrey, thank you for the $5. I'm a lose it if we see Cooper Kupp or Jalen Milroe obvious trick play again. It's almost a meme. Stop it, Clint. Yeah. I think there's like he's really trying to find something else in this offense other than JSN that can work, but I don't know. I mean, like, I go back to that Houston game. The offense had been working almost perfectly up until that Cooper Kupp interception. Like, we had 2 touchdowns. We were driving for a third one. The simple stuff was working beautifully. I don't think you need to mix it up at that point. It's not like you're desperately trying to find some kind of a solution to move the ball. Like you're fine. You're fine. The Arroyo stuff was working to that point. It was good. What was wrong with that?
I think Clint's getting tripped out a little bit by the fact that these defenses are just staying in the same speed and the same role. You know, he's sort of like overthinking himself and like, certainly they're not just going to keep stacking this box. Certainly they're not just going to keep throwing these blitzes at me. And I think he thinks like a normal coordinator would be like, I got to do a little of this, and then I got to pair over and do some of this, and I got to keep him honest by doing this. But instead with Clint, I would just tell him that, hey, stay in the lane, make them force you out of the lane. Don't leave the lane voluntarily. Just keep going, pedal down, go forward. And if it's still working, keep going with it. Make them take it away from you. And I think that to the point of Jeffrey on this with these donations and Milroe and the trick play with Coop, I get the trick play with Coop too, because this is a bit of when you get the stack box, when you get the pressure based stuff, there's a little bit of a drive then for them to go to the first step of what you're showing, and that you get people overcommitted. But at the end of the day, you've had this mistake pop up a couple of different times. This is an easy modification to make. Stop getting so cute. Force them to stop what you're doing so well. If they can't get JSN doubled, if they're going to leave him open over again, yeah, fine. Keep tossing him the ball. Who cares? Make them stop it.
Yeah, and like the frustrating thing is, you look at that Cooper Kupp trick play, JSN's open, and Cooper Kupp just throws a terrible ball. So it's like, maybe that's not the guy who should be throwing that pass. We know that JSN's actually a pretty decent passer because he threw a couple passes last year and they were good. Like, I don't know. Maybe they need to have a little bit more. Maybe they need to practice that a little bit more. I don't know.
It's like, too, the upside on that play, Brendan. Okay, you hit a 9-yard crossing route on a trick play that a lot can go wrong on. I don't know if the upside on that kind of play is worthwhile versus a flea flicker where at least I'm tossing it 50 yards down the field for a bomb.
Yeah, it's like if they bring out the Milrow package again, which it seems like they're kind of off of. They've been deactivating him for game day. If they do that again, let him throw the ball. Like, stop with this whole like QB power stuff. Like he's Tim Tebow. Like, let him actually throw the ball on that play. Like, that's something where there's upside. That's something that could take the defense by surprise. Right now, I don't think there's any fear on the part of the defense that Milrow's going to throw the ball.
I don't either. And I think it's just put this away at this point. The offense is working fine. With the whole experiment of Milrow, it was always under the undertaking of thought, I think, from the Seahawks standpoint, that somehow maybe Darnold might not be what he was with Minnesota. He's been more than what he's been with Minnesota. And considering the fact that those passing attempts are down as low as they are with what he's done with them, I don't want to take more attempts away from him. I don't want to take more snaps with him and the ball out of his hands. I want him controlling the action 24/7. He's earned that right at this point.
Herman, thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah, this one we already looked at. Thank you, Herman.
Thank you, Herman.
Again.
Appreciate you.
Bronze Sausage, thank you for the $1.99. Y'all are great. Go Hawks, 27-17. That's actually my exact score prediction as well. I did my pre-game Bleacher Report video yesterday, and that was what I had.
I'm basically in about the same territory. I mean, it just feels about right that this should be more than a 7-point win. And if it was Washington that had Tunsil and had McLaurin coming back in here, I might feel different. But I think those are major losses to them. And being down Julian Love sucks, but you got everybody else defensively coming back in this one.
Yeah.
And offensively, you got literally everybody coming back on that. I mean, we're really in a great place right now as far as health-wise when you really look at this for some of these other teams this year that have been just absolutely inundated with injuries like Washington, like San Francisco. We're in a great spot. And so I just think that it's the tough part for Washington in this matchup. Gus coming off the bye, fresh, healthy. Part of me only thinks the only way you kind of lose this is if you're overlooking Washington in this game.
Yeah. And I will say I expect to get Washington's best effort because they need it so badly. But still, at a certain point, the talent should win out.
Yeah, they're backed into a corner. You're going to get that desperation. They understand if they lose this game that their season's done. There's no pathway really to the playoffs. I mean, mathematically, technically, you're in it, but you're out of it. So you're right. You're going to get them throwing everything but the kitchen sink at you probably.
All right. I'm going to get set up here. Can you tell the people about Sleeper for a minute while I'm setting up?
Absolutely. Sleeper right now is the #1 sports app running in the business here. I know you got a lot of options out there, a lot of pickings, but what's nice about Sleeper is their variants of so many different types of picks that you can go through. You can get in every kind of sport. We got the trifecta going on right now with a little bit of baseball in the World Series, basketball kicking off. Hey, we're middle of football season. You can combo your picks together. You can look to go for the over, the unders. You can do the daily fantasy, the weekly fantasy if you find yourself out of your normal fantasy league and earn some money at the same time. So get better at fantasy, earn yourself some money. It's a win-win kind of situation. And when you're able to use both either me or Brendan's code, which he is LSS, or not LS, but SBN.
Yes,
get it right. Sorry.
Yeah, SBN. There we go.
He is SBN, and I am Nest, N-E-A-T. Use either of those two codes, and we're having a code off, folks. So please do use one of those two. They'll match you up to 100% of $100 of your first deposit. So $100 from me and Brendan to you, and you show some love to the channel at the same point in time. And then they have on top of that, Brendan, a $20 deal, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
So we got a $20 freebie just for creating an account. Don't have to even use our code. Just create a login. They'll give you $20 into your account right out the gate. Sleeper is an awesome app. Love the over and unders. Me and Brendan that's our bag. That's what we do. But we'll get you some picks here. They didn't have it up yesterday. Let's see if they got it up today.
Yeah, looks like they got at least something here. All right.
There we go.
Wow, they're all over the JSN thing. 93.5 yards. That's pretty big.
Yeah. They probably lost a lot of money last few weeks with him.
Yeah, although I don't blame them against those Washington defensive backs the way they've been playing. Like, you watch that Chiefs game, it's like you definitely I definitely had the thought that JSN might go for 200 on these guys. I definitely did.
Tough part for that secondary too, Brendan, is just that you got to stay in coverage for 7 seconds. Nobody's
Mhm.
creating any pressure.
All right, so I'm going to lead us off here with I'm going to say I like Charbonnet to get in the end zone here. So I'm going to give him the anytime touchdown. That's rushing, receiving, whatever. But that is the anytime touchdown. So what do you like?
I'll take the Barner at 25.5 yards. I think Seattle's going to target Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu in coverage and target them fairly often.
All right, I like that too. I am going to add on the over on Luke McCaffrey because I
Oh, you
like
took
that
mine.
guy.
Yeah, that was gonna be mine.
Yep. No Terry McLaurin. Debo Samuel is I don't know. He's a couple of
Hurt.
biscuits short of being a tight end at this point, I think.
Did you see the Debo Samuel bubble screen that got intercepted last week?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, phew, it's kind of your thing, dude.
Yeah. And Luke McCaffrey's awesome, so I got to go the over there. You want to throw out one more?
Yeah, let's go with you know what? Let's go double dip on the tight ends. Let's go 19.5 yards for Elijah Arroyo.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
I just think if you're not a coordinator coming into this game looking at those off-ball linebackers and going attack, 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 you're high.
All right. So that is our ticket for this week, guys. Anytime touchdown for Zach Charbonnet, over 25.5 on AJ Barner, over 27.5 on Luke McCaffrey, and over 19.5 on Elijah Arroyo. Get on over to Sleeper. Once again, remember, use the promo code, get a 100% match, get the free $20 deposit as well. No deposit required for that. And if you think you know football, go there and prove it, man. Get over there, make some money, and get it done, people. Do it for the people.
For the people.
All right. Okay. So now that we are all, I believe, caught up here, let's take a look at this Washington offense, which has seen significant regression this year. Now, some of that is because of injury, but I do think they have been kind of hit with the sophomore slump a little bit. I do think there are some things on this team that have not worked out the way they were expecting. And I think things have been mismanaged a little bit in some areas here as well. Same with the defense. Not as bad, but some mistakes have been made, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's one thing first and foremost on this that does relate back to Seattle situation, because I hear people talk about the JSN thing with, well, he's got 2 more years of club control. JSN's got to be signed to a contract extension this offseason. Yeah. I've got 2 teams here in recent memory that I want people to be aware of. The San Francisco 49ers and the Washington Commanders. Niners last year played this footsie game with Brandon Ayuk. It got personal. It got to a point that there was a rift there. It got to the point now where Brandon Ayuk is supposedly healthy and able to play, but they're not playing him. So we knew about last year, if you play this game in training camp and they hold out and then they finally come back, that they're probably going to get injured in the season. That's what happened to Ayuk last year. And then with McLaurin, what happened with him? Hold out through the preseason. Don't want to pay him. Should we pay him? I don't know if we should pay him. He's been good, but I mean, is he worth the money? He's 30 years old. Do we want to pay him? I don't know if we want to pay him. Let's hold him off. Okay. Misses all training camp. Boom. Now he gets an injury in the regular season for a guy who has been very healthy throughout his career. So let's not play this game with JSN. I know this is a little bit off point, Brendan, but let's not play this game of we got 2 more years of club control. Get the deal done. Don't do what these silly, stupid organizations are doing in these kind of deals, which just ends up costing him so much down the line by getting cute with it. He's earned the contract, pay him the contract, get it done. As far as this offense goes, Brendan, you're right about there being some regression. I mean, some of this to me is that if I've got an air raid offense, I need the receivers on the outside, right? Because I'm going to throw the ball a lot. So I can't just have a McLaurin and an Ertz and be like, oh, we're good. We'll be fine. Debo Samuel running bubble screens. We'll be fine. I think you need to have some pretty good pass catchers stacked up along the side to make that role. And they just don't have it right now, especially with McLaurin out of the lineup. Luke is at least kind of somewhat come on. Debo's been okay at times. Like I say, he does still look real thick out there, man. He's a big boy for a receiver. Well, you're muted. What'd you say?
Yeah, another couple biscuits and he's a tight end.
Oof, I don't get being a professional athlete and struggling to stay in shape, but that one is what it is. So, you get the outlier markers here with the Kingsbury offense, 19th in play action. You're not going to get a lot of under center stuff, much less play action from under center. They are a pretty good EPA rush team for the most part, but he has that draw on him I'm hearing something. What's that?
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry about that. Somebody is.
Oh, you're good. Oh yeah, that happens to me. You're good then. They are running the ball, but then here we go again to the trappings of the air raid, like we had with Grubb last year. They're running the ball at a top 10 EPA rate, but they don't seem to be so firmly committed to running it. Some of it is also you get behind in football games, you can't run the ball very much. So there's a bit of a tit for tat there on that one. But it is the kind of offense you expect. Shotgun basis, dropping back into that time and time again. A limited effectiveness because a lot of your runs are going to come out of shotgun in addition to that. You do have the read option stuff you got to worry about with Jaden Daniels and the keeper stuff, and mobile quarterbacks can give Mike McDonald's defenses, I think, issues here and there at times. But with that said, the one thing that does stand out to me that I think Mike's going to really look at is this is a team that's being blitzed the second highest rate in the NFL. And the Mike McDonald the past 2 weeks with the Texans and the Jacksonville game has really amped up the blitz rate. We were a top 10 blitz rate team against the Texans last week. That's the first time all year we've been that high. Speaks to it. You were a top 10 that 1 week and you're still 29th in blitz rate for the season, Brendan.
Right.
So yeah, you're still haven't been doing it much, but I think he's going to go after him. I think he's going to really feel like his corners can cover these receivers on the outside. He's not going to be worried about Zach Ertz. The other thing with them is that they're a top 6 team at creating separation with the receivers, Brendan, but they are where I had them at. They're very low on yak. They're one of the league most ineffective at yak, run after the catch. So a guy like Zach Ertz is going to catch it and fall down. That's kind of what you get from these guys. So the challenge just isn't really there for Mike, I feel like, to be worried on the back end. All the more reason to dial up the heat, especially with all of the return back with health and Witherspoon back in the flow and all that.
Yeah, it's very odd. This Washington team has one of the best rushing attacks in the league overall. They've got 5.2 yards a carry, but it doesn't feel like it's really all that effective in helping them score points. It's one of those things where it feels like it's just something that happens and they're not leaning on it enough or something. It's hard to really put your finger on it, but it's not really helping them get to where they want to go.
It's not. And I do think it is a bit of you're playing from behind, but it is just I'm getting a little bit hypercritical on these air raid guys. I just feel like they're all wired to want to get back to the passing game and that it's run for show and it's throw to go. And that it's all for show just when they're running it. And even if it's good, just to show them, we just got to show them it. Just got to show them it. No, just you utilize it. It's what you do best. You're not throwing the ball particularly well. You're not pass protecting particularly well. Go with what you do good, but they can't help themselves.
Like Krosky Merritt's actually been really nice for him so far this year, but the usage has been way down these last 3 weeks for some reason. Doesn't really make sense.
It is odd. It is odd. It's definitely the 3 weeks has been a 3-game losing streak too. So that's that thing where if you're down in games, you can't run the ball. I mean, this is what's helped our Seattle defense. And I think we're better at stopping the run. But I think that also a big thing that's helped us is that we've been able to be in the lead and comfortably in the lead at times and late in the third quarters in some of these games. And it's kind of helped to take that off the table for offenses.
Right. I like the sound of all of that. One thing going on with the Washington is, of course, if Tunsil's out, and I don't know, there was a couple guys in my comments who were suggesting that maybe Tunsil was kind of like milking the injury a little bit because he doesn't want to play. I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently, like, they're saying maybe he's not really hurt. Have you heard this at all?
Nothing from my guy today was indicating that, but he was pretty resolute that he was probably not playing.
I would be surprised if he plays. So if he doesn't play, we're going to get George Fant, our old buddy. So that will be good for the 10 snaps that he gets to play before he gets hurt.
And Connerly on the other side, they're trying to take that left tackle, turn him into right tackle, and he looks like a fish out of water at right tackle.
They got Tyler Biadasz at center. He's pretty good. I like him. He's all right.
Yeah.
I remember I really liked Sam Cosmi in the draft a few years ago, but I don't know how he's done since he's entered the NFL. Do you know anything about Cosmi?
He's been solid. Not great, but just he's been a solid player.
So it's not a terrible offensive line, but it's certainly not. It's not the kind of offensive line you want to be building around your franchise second-year quarterback. Obviously, the Tunsil trade was good, and they needed to do something like that, but there's a lot of problems going on here right now.
There is, and it's part of what we saw last year with Grubb and what you can see with the change over to Kubiak this year and an actual competent NFL offense is the air raid also has this tendency to allow these defenses to pin their ears back because of the predictability of how much you're going to throw the ball. And it makes your offensive line look even worse than they really are at that point because of the play calling.
Yeah, and I would also say that even though Jaden Daniels is probably going to play in this game, he's probably not 100% himself. He's probably not all the way back, and that could definitely be a big factor in a game like this. So I would definitely be willing to send some serious pressure Jaden Daniels' way.
And he's not played at the same level as last year, be it you call it a sophomore slump, or it's maybe teams found some adjustments on tape through him the offseason that are taking away some of the things he likes to do. I think he had some pretty heavy splits last year and throwing just one side of the field in particular at a very high level at a high rate. You have to think NFL defenses kind of picked up on that. So he's also, even at the best of times, at his most healthiest, hasn't necessarily been the Jaden we saw last year.
Yeah, his completion percentage is down 8 points from last year. 8 points from 69 to 61.
Accuracy has been the forefront of the things you've seen with that. Not decision making, he's good there, but the accuracy has been kind of all over the board a little bit this year versus last year where he was pinpoint.
Yeah, there was a point last year where his completion percentage was like 80% early in the season. He was off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Anything else to say about this Washington offense? I feel like we covered everything pretty good there.
Yeah, they're not going to have a lot of challenge skill position players for you anywhere at all. I mean, they don't even have like a number 2 tight end like Arroyo that we have. That's like, well, he's a mismatch weapon when you bring him out. You got to be careful. It's like they don't. They've got Ben Sitton that they took in the second round last year, and he's barely getting on the field. It's an offense you should absolutely still be able to get after, and they don't have a lot they can hit you with. I mean, Debo, we talked about getting heavier. He's got a heel issue too, in addition to that. So he's still fighting through that as well. It's a banged up team, this Washington Commanders.
Yeah, there's really just not much to say about them at this point. The only thing they have going for them is desperation, and I do think that's an important factor here. But at a certain point, that only takes you so far. And I do think Seattle's going to win this game. Already gave my score, 27-17. What's yours?
I'm going to go a dominant score, 27-13. So I'll take your 27 points. That feels right. I think that a touchdown and 2 field goals for this Commanders offense feels about what I would expect them to be able to muster against this defense. And I just feel like we're really going to, I think, get a chance to, I know you don't quite have Love back. I think you're really going to see a lot of, there was an article that came out this week talking a little bit about Mike's adjustment he made from the offseason plan and the lack of blitzing and the lack of the pressure base. And I really just feel like Witherspoon and Emanwari is kind of a center point, both for Emanwari's ability to blitz off the edge, but for the combo of what those two guys can bring in coverage. And then what you hopefully get from the third guy, be it Job or Woolen, that's what can then breed the confidence to allow you to then blitz that stuff up, to heat them up. And I think that he's been a little bit hesitant too, because some of the injuries to the secondary early on this year, it's caused them to kind of pull that back a little bit. Wonder if this week, second highest blitz team in the NFL being the Commanders walking into this game, if Mike doesn't, again, especially the success the past 2 weeks and leaning into this, lean into it even more.
Yeah, I would hope so. Although I will say this is the healthiest the edge room has been all year. We're going to have all 4 guys ready to go for, I would say, the first time this year, because those first few games for Nwosu, he was clearly not really ready to go. Mm-hmm. So should be able to tee off even with just your front. So
agreed. Yeah. Especially Fant and the rookie out there, right tackle for them.
Yeah. Connor Lee.
Yeah. Long day at the office for those boys.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really about all that need be said about this one, man. I think we covered it all. I think we did good.
Yeah. I feeling good about where we're at, Brendan. We've got this golden opportunity right now to really put this in a good place. We talked earlier in the stream about getting the bye, and it's a tough NFC. It's going to be hard to go get that number 1 bye. There's only one of them now versus the other 3 times we got the bye, there was 2 of them. So it's not going to be easy to do it, man. But this team's in a position, if it can take care of business against the teams it should be able to take care of business against. And as the schedule, we thought with the schedule was going to set up to be really ripe for us walking into the year, that fruit is only riper now, Brendan. You know, that Falcon team looks even more, able to go after them. The Carolina team, you better believe it. The Minnesota Viking game, we thought that was going to look like, oh my God, that's going to be a tough game. That one's looking very, very winnable. So take care of business against these teams. You should be able to take care of business if you are the team you think you are. And you really do have a track here to potentially go and look at that bye week as we get down the line of this season. And that is such a huge factor for this team if they can get it.
Real quick, we do have a couple more donos coming through. Space, thank you for the $5. Do you think we'll make a trade before the deadline? I said this earlier in the show, but I suspect that they will. I think they're in a position where they are kind of obligated to do something.
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do. John's just got too much money he's sitting on, and this team just you can see that especially if you can just target something to help it out, it could help. And why not at that point? What's the downside by doing that? When it comes to having all of your draft picks for this next draft, for instance, part of the benefit of having a team that's basically lock, stock, and barrel, almost good to go, is that you don't have as much in need of having all of these picks that you have to have in the draft. It's not a requirement. In a lot of ways, too, Brendan, as we ran into at times in the Legion of Boom years, right at the end of that Super Bowl, you end up having to sometimes cut a third rounder or a fourth rounder. And you go, oh boy, that sort of hurt doing that because we held on to that pick because picks are so valuable. So be willing here, I think, to do some things and to make some moves. And from John's perspective, you've had some bad trades in the past that have hit you, but you've also had some really great success stories at this trade deadline. Your Carlos Dunlaps and your Quandary Diggs. Those weren't ground earth shattering moves, but they had a major impact. And that's what I think John needs to be thinking about here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I go back to the Mariners comparison, right? Where the Mariners realized that they were close at the deadline, and they made a couple of big moves that mostly paid off. Like even Suarez, as much as he did struggle at times, still helped this team win and get to where they ended up going. Like I feel like that when you're close like that, you owe it to the fan base and you owe it to your team to at least go make the effort. Like, yeah, the Mariners fell one game short of the World Series, but what would they have done if they don't make those trades? Probably lose in the wild card round, honestly.
Or maybe not even get to the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think this is what, you need to do. And the Mariners showed you with that. They didn't rob their farm system to make that happen. They got some pretty mid-level guys out of here that weren't maybe even going to be really part of the long-term process here. So, you can do something similar in equivalency. It doesn't have to be that you're hamstringing yourself in the long term or that you've gone all in on this year to do that. You can be aggressive to me. I'm open to a day 2 pick. I am. But it doesn't, it's kind of, you can kind of pick your pleasure on this from a John Schneider's perspective. Go big but add something. Top end of this. And especially when it comes to that offensive line. Like you mentioned Tevin Jenkins. You can't grab a Tevin. I know you brought him in here and he didn't impress you and blah, 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 but he's not playing. And it's cost you a 7th round pick maybe at this point. Like that's not worth a flyer like that.
Yeah. I don't know why you wouldn't. Like even though they didn't make the World Series, most of my best memories as a Mariners fans have been formed over the last month and a half, and in part because they made those trades. So go for it.
Yeah, I love what the Mariners did. I don't think that there was some other move they had to or should have been out there making versus what they did. There was so many moves to be made. It was really a seller's market. But you love that they got aggressive with it, Brendan, and it paid off for them. I mean, they came this close, a ball bounce this way, ball bounce that way. They're in the World Series. So just goes to show there is a bit of luck involved in this, the ball bouncing in the right direction, but there's the things you can control to set the stage up to getting you as close as you can to certainty there. John can take that a little closer, I think, with a move here or there. I'm not going to lament if he doesn't, Brendan. I mean, if he doesn't get a deal, I'm not going to be like, this is the worst thing, but just really be shaking the trees on this one, John, because there should be something out there you'd get.
Sean McLeod, thank you for the $1.99. I would love to give Love my hamstring. Go Hawks. Yeah, these hamstring injuries, they're a really annoying injury because you don't know how long they're going to take to go away. Sometimes it seems like they never really go away and then they flare up again. It's the worst.
You have to wait for it to be 100% healthy before you let the guy go out there. And to your point, if it's flaring up, you just have to sit and wait on it. And it's a tough injury because it can be random like that. Yeah, remember JSN, his whole final year in college was a hamstring. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, I think he had 3 catches that whole year or something.
Played 2 games and he was out the whole way. And hammies tend to be 4 to 6 years, but even on a young cat like that, it was all the way through. He was probably being careful with it too because he knew he was coming out in the draft. So
right.
But all the board's saying you just got to be careful with them. Groins, hammies, those tend to be ones you just can't really play with.
All right. So I think that'll do it. So we will reconvene in a week. By the next time we do our show, the trade deadline will be done. So if there's anything that happens, we will talk about it. And we'll have a game to talk about, of course, because we're playing Sunday night. And we will continue on with the rest of this season as we move into the second half here. So thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Appreciate you guys.
Brandon, thank you for doing this with me today.
Always a pleasure, brother.
And guys, we are hitting a very pivotal point in this schedule. We're going to find out a lot about these Seahawks over the next few weeks. And if we come out of it with a strong record, I think this team will be poised to play with any team in the NFC. They will be poised to maybe become the big dog in the NFC for all we know. So all we can do is be the best fans that we can and hope the team finds their way. So go Hawks.
Go Hawks.